And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, Tom Vasel here, and today we're taking a look at Lazer Ryderz. Now, when you first see Lazer Ryderz, it actually looks like 4 games. Well, actually, when you first look at it, it looks like a VHS set from the 80s. The box looks like it's all beat up. It's not. That's actually printed on the box, which means I guess you can beat up the box and it will still work. But anyway, it looks like there's 4 games in here, and they're not. These are 4 different Lazer Ryderz. Lazer Ryderz is pretty much a kind of parody style thing of Tron. If you remember in Tron, the light bike racing game where they're moving around trying not to run into each other, it has some similarities to that. You're going to be moving pieces around the board and trying not to hit the other lines, but trying to hit targets. Here's how it plays. Okay, so here we have the Galactic Wave Rider, who is a funky blue and purple. Laser Shark, who is a cool red and purple. The Phantom Cosmonaut, who is a crazy purple, green, and blue. And the Super Sheriff, who is a hot yellow with stars. So now each of these, you're going to get a bunch of pieces that are in different speeds and different colors. So for example, I have 2 1 straight pieces, and I have 2 1 curves. Actually, I have 4 1 curves. There's 2 different types, though. There's a sharp and a less sharp kind of curve, all the way up to 5. So I'm going to stack all these near me. I also have my character here. This is going to keep track of the speed that I'm going at any point in time. So 1 through 5 is your speed, and then you have this is going to be your starting thing. There's also a couple of tokens in each pack that are going to be used for everybody. So let's set up the board a little. Now you're going to place 4 neutral prisms around the board. These are too close probably for a game. It doesn't matter that much, honestly. You can make the game as big or as small as you want to. The goal of what you're trying to do is you're trying to run into a neutral prism and turn that prism into your own color. In which case, when you're done with that, you'll throw a prism on the board and then hopefully replace these prisms as they come out. If you ever have 3 prisms of your own color on the board, you will win the game. Now, at the beginning of the game, each person has their start marker, and this is going to be placed on the edge of the table anywhere you want, but you got to do it with your eyes closed. Everyone does it with their eyes closed, so you're not sure where everyone else is going. You're also going to hold out fingers equal to whatever gear you're going to start in, and everyone will pick that gear. Now, at the beginning of each round, you're going to turn over the turn order markers to each person. The fastest speed goes first. There is a tiebreaker marker floating around in case people are in the same gear. At the beginning of your turn, you can go up or down 1 gear if you want to. And then you are going to decide whether you're going to go straight or curve. So if I was curving, let's say I'm going to go straight and I'm in gear 5. I would just attach this here, or I could attach it here, which is kind of what I want to do because I want to hit these prisms if I can do so. So you do that, and then it stays there. This is kind of, you have a line, think Centipede or Tron. And maybe next time, I don't think I could go to gear 1 from here, but maybe I would go down a gear into gear 4. Now, if I want to curve, let's say I want to curve at this point, instead of going straight, so I can curve. I have different curve pieces. But before you curve, you have to roll the curve dice. So you roll the curve dice, and if you roll a number equal, or if you roll a number that is less than your speed, you're going to spin out. And instead of curving, you are going to go straight instead of curving. So you can see curving at speed 4 is very dangerous, and curving at speed 1 is better. And there's always the chance that you will spin out here. If you roll this die here, this side, you get the curve, but then your speed goes all the way down to 1. You also could crash into somebody else's. If somebody else has something here, and next turn I play this, then I'm going to crash. At that point, I remove all my lines from the board. I'm going to start over next time. Their lines are also removed from where you hit them all the way back to their first attacking thing. Now, what you're trying to do is you're trying to go over prism. Now, this is tricky. You have to actually go over it. Touching it doesn't work. You have to completely go over the prism. Like that doesn't work either. And if you ever touch a prism, they get nudged. So if you're here, it kind of gets nudged to the side so somebody else can hit it. So you got to be very careful to try to hit them straight on. If you do crash, like I said, you respawn. If you do hit a prism the correct way, you'll replace it with your own prism, although someone else could turn that into theirs, and then you'll throw the neutral prism back onto the table. And that's pretty much the whole game. You're just going to be moving around, making your lines as you go here, and curving in different ways, trying to hit prisms. So maybe the prism's there. What a great move. I hit that prism, then this one gets nudged without hitting everybody else. Each player also has a special power where they can use one of their prisms, and they basically have special powers that will power up, and they'll be able to do different things on their turn based on who they are. Anyway, the first person with 3 of their color on the board is the winner. Some people are going to really like the retro look of this. I think most people will. I'm not so keen on the box itself, in a sense that it's a little bit harder to store on a shelf, and you gotta, and I don't know, they also didn't put the little the little finger thing on the side where these are easy to pull out. Not a big deal, and just when you put the pieces back in the tray, they definitely go in a very exact way. Now, the pieces themselves look like the flight paths of X-Wing. In fact, if I guessed, I would say whoever designed this game was playing around with the X-Wing pieces and said, wouldn't it be interesting if this was the game itself laying these out? That's fine, because while this might look like X-Wing and the other games of that ilk, it's really not. This is a game in which you are building a line and trying not to crash in other people's lines. Now, I found that this works better the larger the space. You can play in a small space, but you'll be running into other people very quickly. I played on one of those 2x6 or 3x6 banquet tables. That's probably too small. I would recommend actually 4 feet, if you can pull it off. But a 3 foot by 3 foot thing will probably work well. So you're going to be moving here, trying to hit the targets. One of the things I really like about the game is you're not allowed to pre-measure or anything. You can't say, okay, if I play this piece, no. You pick a piece, you pick a speed by eye only, and that helps the game go faster. The game is going to go super fast. You're going quickly, you're picking the piece you want, you roll the curve, and the curve thing gets a little annoying sometimes. If you're trying to make a curve at speed 4, it's likely not going to happen. But you got a lot of pieces. You can make these big long snake around the board. So you're trying to make your snake so you hit pieces, but also make it so someone else hits yours. Because if someone else hits your snake, it gives you some pieces back, and it means they have to start over again. Sometimes you hit somebody because you want to come back to the beginning because you want to get these prisms. When you throw the prism on a table, who knows where it's going to land? There is a lot of randomness in the game in that regard, and it is a game of racing, and dexterity is not the right word, but kind of like just moving around the board. But there's not a ton of strategy here. You could be like, wow, that was cool how you moved that path. But since you're eyeballing everything and the curved die is a little random and you never know where the next prism will show up and you have no idea what the other players are going to do, it keeps things hopping. But that is not a bad thing. The game itself is fun. It's what I call stupid fun. And there's a lot of games in that category that I tend to like. And that's how I feel about this one. I like the Tron theme. I like the 80s look of this. I like being Super Sheriff and I forget all the names of these. Phantom Cosmic, Laser Shark, Galactic Wave Rider. I don't know which one I like the best. I think I like Phantom Cosmonaut the best just because I like the colors. But, I mean, you're there, and you're moving around, and then you hit a thing, and it's a 30-minute game. It's not very long, and it's silly, but it looks cool, and the table has that psychedelic, funky look to it. And you're going up and down speeds. It's kind of like the weight of Formula D, but even less heavy than that. But as you're going up and down gears and you crash and start over, and you never feel like you're out of it because you might just suddenly go and hit a whole bunch and someone might be ahead and you change one of their prisms to yours. But the game also has this forward feeling motion because every time someone does hit a prism, another prism's thrown onto the table. So there's more out there, and the more out there, the more targets you have. And so the end doesn't necessarily come down to, he has 2 yellow prisms, I have 2 blue, and I just changed one of his to blue, and then he changed one of mine to yellow, and we go back and forth. No, because there's those neutral ones, or there's always 4 neutral ones out there that can be changed. The special powers, you can take them or leave them. They're fine. They add a little bit additional thing. But this game is just played best as a light, let's see what happens style game. And that regard, it works. There are games where you move pieces around the board miniature-wise, but this one is silly fun, and I like it. Dice Tower Judgment, approved.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!